Only Fools and Horses, 1981 to 2003, is a timeless British classic that brought laughter, love, and unforgettable moments to living rooms across the nation. With its brilliant writing and iconic characters, the show became a cultural phenomenon, but behind the scenes, many of the actors faced personal tragedies that fans never saw. In this video, we take a heartfelt look at the beloved cast members who have sadly passed away, reflecting on their lives, careers, and the struggles they endured off camera. From sudden losses to long battles with illness, these stories reveal a touching, often emotional side to the show's legacy. Join us in remembering the Only Fools and Horses stars we've lost, but never forgotten. Roger Lloyd Pac was born on February 8, 1944, and played Colin Triggerball in 1981 at age 37. Trigger's slow-witted charm and deadpan humor masked a deeper melancholy in the show, often revealing loneliness beneath his oddball persona. Off-screen, Lloyd Pac's intellectual depth sharply contrasted with Trigger's simplicity. A Shakespearean actor fluent in French and German, he often felt trapped by the public's fixation on his comedic alter ego. Though he projected humility, he reportedly carried simmering resentment at being pigeonholed, once storming off a radio interview when only asked about Trigger. Behind his calm exterior was a complex man burdened by strained relationships. His first marriage ended bitterly, with friends claiming he never fully recovered emotionally. Privately, he struggled with depression and withdrew from social circles for long periods, citing disillusionment with celebrity culture. Rumors circulated in theater circles about his clashes with directors over creative differences, and his notorious cold shoulder to co-stars he considered intellectually inferior. He died on January 16, 2014, age 69, from pancreatic cancer. John Shalice was born on August 16, 1942, and began playing Boycie in 1981 at age 39. Boycie's sneering laugh and smug superiority made him a lovable villain in the series, but Shalice's real life was marked by more chaos than charm. He married 4 times, with 2 unions ending in explosive divorces marred by financial disputes and accusations of infidelity. Colleagues whispered of his womanizing past and heavy drinking during his early theater days, which often left him unreliable for morning rehearsals. Though beloved by fans later in life, Shalice had a rocky reputation in the 70s and was blacklisted from several stage productions after a series of behind-the-scenes altercations. One producer allegedly banned him for chronic egotism. He later turned his narrative around with candid autobiographies, but some questioned the sanitized versions of his early scandals. Though he mellowed with age, he remained fiercely private about estranged friendships in the industry. He died on September 19, 2021, age 79, from cancer. Buster Maryfield was born on November 27, 1920, and took on the role of Uncle Albert in 1985 at age 65. On screen, Albert's endless wartime yarns and clueless meddling brought levity to the Trotter household, but Maryfield's disciplined real-life persona often made him an outsider on set. A teetotaler and fitness fanatic, he disapproved of his co-stars drinking and smoking during breaks, reportedly leading to subtle tensions. Some even labeled him uptight behind his back. His sudden rise to fame late in life, after retiring from banking, shocked even his family, with some relatives reportedly urging him to turn down the role. Though his public image was spotless, rumors persist of a decade-long estrangement from his brother over inheritance issues, something he never addressed publicly. Maryfield was also said to be overly controlling on set, frequently correcting fellow actors' lines and once nearly walking off during a rehearsal dispute. He died on June 23, 1999, age 78, from a brain tumor. Kenneth Macdonald was born on November 20, 1950, and stepped into the role of Mike Fisher in 1983 at age 33. Mike, the no-nonsense landlord of the Nag's Head, often played the voice of reason amid Dell's harebrained antics. But Macdonald himself wasn't always so level-headed. In his early career, he faced backlash for risque performances in the bawdy sitcom It Ain't Half Hot Mom, where backstage pranks reportedly went too far, leading to minor legal trouble and BBC warnings. He had a reputation for partying hard during the 70s, even being caught in a tabloid sting involving after-hours gambling. Though he cleaned up by the time Only Fools took off, those wild years haunted his public image. At home, he juggled fame with a rocky marriage that briefly collapsed in the late 80s, fueled by tabloid rumors of infidelity. He kept up a facade of cheerful professionalism, but insiders knew him as someone who battled anxiety quietly. He died suddenly of a heart attack on August 5, 2001, aged 50. Diane Langton was born on May 31, 1944, and appeared as June Snell in 1985 at age 41. June's bold, sultry persona added a jolt of romantic tension to the series, and in many ways, Langton's real life mirrored her character's unapologetic edge. A musical theater veteran, she dazzled with bravado, but also developed a reputation for being difficult to direct. Behind her talent was a trail of professional riffs, with at least 2 producers reportedly vowing never to work with her again after public rose over creative differences. Though never caught in a full-blown scandal, she was notorious for walking out of auditions, once storming off set in the middle of a costume dispute. Her romantic life was equally fiery, with tabloid whispers of an affair with a prominent West End director in the 80s that supposedly sabotaged her chance at a lead TV role. Langton lived life loudly, ruffling feathers but commanding attention. She passed away on January 15, 2025, at 80, leaving behind a legacy both praised and polarizing. Roy Heather was born on May 20, 1935, and portrayed Sid the cafe owner in 1982 at age 47. Sid's sarcastic quips and greasy spoon setting became iconic, but behind the counter, Heather's life was far from smooth. Having started acting late, he was perpetually playing catch-up in an industry notorious for unforgiving timelines. Though often praised for his work ethic, he harbored deep insecurities about being typecast in minor roles, a frustration he reportedly voiced privately but rarely in interviews. Colleagues noted his tendency to isolate himself during shoots, and whispers circulated of a difficult divorce in the 70s that left him financially depleted for years. Though he steered clear of overt scandal, Heather battled chronic loneliness and financial instability, often supplementing his income with part-time jobs between gigs. Friends claimed he resented being overlooked in retrospectives of the show, feeling edited out of history. He died on September 3, 2014, age 79 from cancer, having quietly carried the burden of being a forgotten cornerstone of British sitcom history. Leonard Pierce was born on October 31, 1915, and took on the role of Grandad Trotter in 1981 at age 66. Grandad's grumpiness and indifference masked a lifetime of silent suffering that Pierce, in some ways, channeled directly. A veteran of stage and radio, Pierce worked relentlessly but remained almost invisible to the public. He was plagued by financial insecurity for much of his life, often borrowing money between jobs. Despite his gentle on-screen image, backstage Pierce was infamously irritable, known to snap at younger actors and once walked out of a table read mid-scene. He was also rumored to suffer from undiagnosed bipolar disorder, which led to erratic mood swings and long periods of isolation. A heavy smoker well into his 60s, he ignored repeated medical advice to quit, even joking on set that cigarettes were his only friend. He reportedly died alone in his flat shortly after collapsing, on December 15, 1984, age 69, from a heart attack, leaving behind a legacy of quiet brilliance shadowed by unspoken hardship. Derek Newark was born on June 8, 1933, and appeared as Eric the Policeman in 1981 at age 48. Known for playing hard-nosed authority figures, Newark's commanding on-screen presence hid a far messier personal life. Despite acclaim at the Royal National Theatre, he was quietly blacklisted from several major productions in the late 80s due to volatile outbursts and unreliability. His alcoholism wasn't just a whisper. It was a roar that often disrupted rehearsals and led to him being forcibly removed from a London pub after threatening a fellow actor. Newark was once arrested for public intoxication, though the charges were dropped. However, the incident made headlines in the theater circuit. He never married and confided in friends that he feared passing utterly forgotten, a sentiment that drove his spiral further. His health deteriorated rapidly in the 90s, culminating in liver failure and a fatal heart attack. He died on August 11, 1998, age 65, a brilliant but tormented figure consumed by the very intensity that once made him great. John Bardon was born on August 25, 1939, and took a small but memorable role as a policeman in 1986 at age 47. Though a minor part in Only Fools, Bardon would later find fame as Jim Branning on EastEnders. Despite his gruff on-screen roles, Bardon's personal life was riddled with vulnerability. He experienced periods of profound depression, particularly during his early years of rejection from major theaters. A chronic smoker and heavy drinker during the 70s, he reportedly once brawled with a fellow actor backstage, leading to a temporary suspension from a touring play. Though he cleaned up his act later, the damage to his reputation lingered. Bardon was fiercely private and reportedly estranged from a sibling after a dispute over their late mother's estate. His 2007 stroke left him partially incapacitated, and though he made a brief return to TV, he never fully recovered physically or emotionally. He died on September 12, 2014, age 75, after years of ill health, his late career resurgence bittersweet and clouded by unspoken pains. Rayort was born on January 10, 1926, and played a policeman in Only Fools and Horses in 1983 at the age of 57. His no-nonsense character stumbled into the Trotters' usual disaster, serving as a brief but sharp counterpoint to their chaotic schemes. But Mort's real life was far more troubled than his minor screen appearances suggested. Behind his gruff exterior and working-class credibility was a man battling long-standing alcoholism, a struggle kept well hidden during his early TV days but increasingly apparent in later years, leading to missed call times and quiet bans from certain productions. He reportedly had a bitter fallout with producers of all creatures great and small after a drunken tirade on set. His first marriage ended violently, with a court-ordered separation due to allegations of domestic abuse, though it was largely kept from the public eye. Estranged from two of his children, Mort lived most of his final years alone in Manchester, cut off from former colleagues and rarely seen in public. Rayort died on July 4, 1994, at the age of 68 due to complications related to liver failure. Christopher Malcolm was born on August 19, 1946, and appeared in 1983 at age 37 as the Chief of Security, a firm yet forgettable presence opposite Del Boy. But while his role in Only Fools and Horses was brief, Malcolm's life was a collision of stage triumphs and silent personal suffering. A darling of cult cinema, he was also the original Brad Majors in the Rocky Horror Show, where backstage affairs reportedly ended his first marriage in scandal. He masked physical and emotional pain following a near-fatal motorcycle crash in 1987, which left him with lasting injuries and addiction to painkillers he never publicly admitted. Financial mismanagement plagued his theater company in the 90s, with whispers of unpaid staff and missed payments. Though beloved by some, others found him moody and erratic in rehearsals. Malcolm died on February 15, 2014, age 67, of cancer, his final years marked by quiet turmoil beneath his charismatic facade. Michael Atwell was born on January 16, 1943, and took on the role of Englishman in 1982 at age 39, appearing briefly in Diamonds Are a Man's Best Friend. His brief screen time belied the volatile energy he brought both on and off stage. Best remembered as Kenny Beale in EastEnders, Atwell was known in theater circles for his combative personality. He allegedly punched a director during a rehearsal in the early 80s after a disagreement over staging. Behind closed doors, his temper extended to his private life. His second marriage ended after a police incident involving a domestic disturbance, though charges were never filed. As a cartoonist under the name Zoke, he vented frustrations through controversial political illustrations, one of which sparked an uproar after mocking a sitting MP. His reputation fluctuated wildly. Some called him brilliant, others branded him a loose cannon. He died on March 18, 2006, age 63, his final years overshadowed by professional isolation. Peter Woodthorp was born on September 25, 1931, and played Reg Trotter in 1983 at age 52. Reg was a manipulative, morally bankrupt figure, and some who knew Woodthorp suggested he mined the role from experience. Though classically trained, Woodthorp's career was plagued by rumors of heavy drinking and professional unreliability. He was reportedly dropped from two major theater productions in the late 1970s after repeated no-shows. His relationship with the BBC soured after a leaked audio tape captured him berating a younger voice actor in a drunken rant during a radio drama session. Though he brought Gollum to life in multiple adaptations, Woodthorp privately felt bitter about being typecast as a grotesque or eccentric. His personal life remained largely cloaked, but whispers in the West End linked him to affairs with married co-stars and substance use that damaged his liver well before old age. He died on August 12, 2004, at 72, quietly fading from a stage that once held him in high regard. Joan Sims was born on May 9, 1930, and was 57 when she played Andy Reini Turpin in 1987, bringing loud humor and chaos to the Frog's legacy. Yet Sims's real life was far darker than her brash comic roles. Despite her fame in the Carry On films, she faced brutal tabloid scrutiny for her drinking, an addiction that spiraled after a humiliating fall outside a theater in 1984 made front-page news. Her love life was riddled with unfulfilled relationships, and one secret abortion in the 1950s that she never publicly discussed but admitted to close friend in later years with deep regret. Sims often felt like a clown performing through tears, especially in the 90s when offers dwindled and she became reliant on sleeping pills. She lived alone, often calling colleagues at odd hours just to talk, confessing that the laughter had faded long ago. She died on June 27, 2001, age 71, from diverticular disease and liver failure. Walter Sparrow was born on January 22, 1927, and appeared in 1989 as Dirty Barry at the age of 62. The lecherous shop owner in Danger UXD seemed almost too natural for Sparrow, whose offbeat energy made him both hilarious and unsettling. But the sleaze wasn't always an act. Though never charged, Sparrow was dogged by whispers throughout the 1980s about inappropriate behavior backstage and a reputation for leering at younger female cast members. A failed stint as a stand-up in the 60s was allegedly ended by a bar brawl that saw him banned from an entire comedy circuit. His marriage was long dead by the late 80s, and sources claim he lived alone in a cluttered flat surrounded by adult magazines and unpaid bills. Known to drink heavily, he once appeared to slur lines during a live read-through of a BBC sitcom, prompting rumors of a quiet intervention. Walter Sparrow died on May 31, 2000, age 73, after a long period of illness, his later years clouded by regret and decline. Trevor Biffield was born on October 20, 1943, and took on the role of Eric in 1991 at age 48, a small but vibrant part in Only Fools and Horses. With his raspy voice and rebel charm, Bifield's off-screen life was even more unruly than the characters he portrayed. Nicknamed Ziggy for his rock and roll antics, he was infamous for wild drinking binges and explosive on-set behavior. During a shoot for The Bill, he allegedly vanished for 2 days, returning hungover and unapologetic. His marriage crumbled after tabloid rumors linked him to a co-star decades younger. Friends describe him as a whirlwind, charismatic but volatile. He was once briefly blacklisted from ITV productions after punching a stage manager during a drunken dispute. Despite his undeniable talent, producers tread lightly, unsure whether they'd get the dedicated actor or the unpredictable rogue. Trevor Biffield died from pneumonia on October 11, 2017, just days before his 74th birthday, leaving behind a legacy of brilliance marred by self-sabotage. Anthony Morton was born on April 7, 1927, and portrayed Louis Lombardi in Only Fools and Horses in 1983 at the age of 56. Lombardi was smooth and cunning, and Morton played him with a theatrical flair he was known for, but behind the persona lay a man tormented by artistic insecurity. Morton, though prolific, was never satisfied with the roles he was given, often lashing out at agents and casting directors for being overlooked. A longtime chain smoker and heavy drinker, he developed a reputation for being unpredictable on set, once halting filming during Crossroads after refusing to take direction from a female director, an incident that nearly got him blacklisted. His personal life was equally unstable, twice divorced, with one ex-wife alleging psychological manipulation and emotional cruelty. His relationship with his son deteriorated completely after a bitter inheritance dispute. In his later years, Morton lived in seclusion, ranting to local papers about being forgotten by the BBC. He died on January 15, 2001, at the age of 73 from complications of lung disease. Jean Mockford, born on March 15, 1926, took on the role of the woman in the kiosk in 1986 at age 60, offering a brief but memorable glimpse of London's nosy comic locals in Only Fools and Horses. Best known as Senna the Soothsayer in Up Pompeii, her career in comedy was long yet underappreciated. Beneath the laughter, though, was a woman plagued by disappointment, passed over repeatedly for substantial roles due to her age and appearance. She reportedly battled severe depression in the 70s, compounded by a volatile marriage to a theatrical producer that ended in scandal when she discovered his affair with a much younger actress. Their divorce was messy, with tabloid coverage briefly surfacing claims of financial manipulation. Mockford, described by some colleagues as unyielding, was said to harbor resentment towards the comedy industry's treatment of older women. Though no criminal scandals touched her name, a former co-star once remarked she could turn a rehearsal room toxic in 5 minutes flat. She died on November 16, 2018, aged 92, from complications related to dementia. Constance Chapman was born on March 29, 1912, and played Elsie Partridge in 1989 at the age of 77. Her character brought quirky charm and warmth to the Trotter household, briefly acting as housekeeper for Uncle Albert. But behind that gentle on-screen presence was a woman far more complex. Chapman, a theater veteran, reportedly clashed bitterly with younger actresses, whom she viewed as ill-prepared and vain. Though never caught in overt scandal, insiders recall her sharp tongue, icy demeanor, and refusal to rehearse with actors she deemed beneath her station. Her marriage to fellow actor Raymond Huntley was fraught with jealous fits and long separations. Rumors swirled that Chapman had an affair with a BBC director in the 60s, securing roles while cutting down rivals behind closed doors. She became more isolated in her later years, allegedly feuding with family over inheritance matters and withdrawing from public life. Constance Chapman died on August 10, 2003, at age 91 from natural causes, having outlived both her fame and many of her secrets. Angus McKay was born on July 15, 1926, and played the vicar in the 1987 Only Fools and Horses episode The Miracle of Peckham at the age of 61. With his dignified presence and refined delivery, McKay's portrayal of the clergyman offered a bemused counterpoint to Del Boy's self-serving piety, grounding the episode in gentle satire. Though his career was long and respectable, McKay never fully recovered from the death of his wife, actress Dorothy Reynolds, in 1977. Friends described his grief as consuming. He began withdrawing from social engagements and reportedly battled insomnia and low-level alcoholism through the 1980s. Though he avoided open scandal, McKay was known in theatrical circles as controlling during rehearsals, with more than one young director calling him impossible to manage. He also clashed with producers over rewrites, demanding script control even in minor roles. In later years, his loneliness became acute. He refused to remarry, and neighbors noted long periods of isolation. Angus McKay died on June 8, 2013, in London, aged 86, from undisclosed causes. Who is your favorite character in Only Fools and Horses? How do you feel knowing that the actors have passed away? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos. Thank you so much.